Hi, everyone. Welcome to Yoga for Strength. I designed this class to bring together various strength movements in an effort to move at your own pace, to progress slowly. So we will need a set of light weights, a set of heavy weights, a few blocks, and a chair for this practice. So let's begin standing together. Make space to stretch out wherever you are. We'll begin in mountain pose. You can open up your palms and begin to rock forward and back on your feet. And then we'll bring our arms up and breathe in. Perhaps the fingertips will touch. Bring the arms down and breathe out. So a few standing sun breaths, inhaling and exhaling. Next time the arms are up, we'll press the palms together and reach over to the side, pressing down through both feet. Back up through center. We'll reach to the other side. Back up through center. One more time. Side bend each side and enjoy your breath. Back through center, releasing the arms. We'll step forward just a bit. I'm going to start with my hands on my hips and then unpeel my right heel. So I'll stay grounded through my right great toes. And then I'll bring the arms back up again. My right arm will reach forward and my left arm will reach back. I'm inhaling and drawing the arms back up through center, and then I'll unpeel my left heel, bend through the left knee, and then reach the left arm forward and the right arm back. So this is a great way to get in a twist side to side, alternating right and left. You can stay rooted and grounded with the feet. The next option will be to lift the foot up. So I'm going to have my arms lifted, shift my weight into my left foot, and I will unpeel my right foot and come up with my right knee. And then from here, I'm going to alternate those movements again, opening up the arms side to side. I'll just start with a few repetitions here. So I'll work through about 3, come back through center, release my arms, shake things out, and I'll try that on the other side. So rooting down now through the right leg, bringing up the left foot, arms come up, and then alternating sides here. Finding your twist, left to right, right to left. I'll bring my left foot back down, release my arms, and then from here, I'll bring my hands to my hips, and we're going to begin with a hip hinge. So rooting down through both feet, I'm just hinging forward with my hips, breathing into the backs of the legs, and then coming back up again. Option 2 would be to interlace the hands behind the head. You could even try for a little back bend here where the gaze goes up to the ceiling or where the wall meets the ceiling, and then hinge forward, and then back up again. So your choice, hands on the hips or hands behind the head. I'll aim for about 5 to 8 repetitions here. Then coming back through center, I'm releasing the hands, and I'm going to clasp my hands together. My feet will be about hip width apart, and I'll begin to squat down and then back up again. Just moving through the knees and through the hips, squatting down and then coming back up again. So I'll aim for about 10 here. I didn't really count, so 5 to 8 repetitions, 8 to 10, sometimes 10 to 12 or 12 to 15, just depending on where you're at within your practice. We could come down and then up and twist. back down, up and twist to the other side. So lots of variations here, just to bring movement, increase the circulation in the body. I'll do a few just coming down and then up. And this time I'll come down and just find a moment to pause, connect with breath, and maybe pulse a little. Releasing the hands, and then standing back up again, shaking out the legs, shaking out the arms. I'm going to bring my hands back to the hips, and we'll work through a series of lunges, right side and then left side again. So forward lunge, pushing back up, side lunge, coming back through center, and then back lunge. So I'll do that a few more times. And then from here, I'll switch to the other side. So now my left leg will hinge forward into that lunge. I'll push off with my left foot and then come into that side lunge on the left side and then back through center. And then I'll find that reverse lunge. Making space to stretch out is key. Back. Come through center here. Just pause for a moment. You may want to bring your hands to the heart space or one hand to the low belly. Reconnect to your breath. Releasing hands alongside the body here, and I'll extend my right leg and bring my right arm up and back through center. I'll extend the left leg, bring the left arm back up, and then alternate side here. So these are modified jumping jacks. I'm just taking things slowly, connecting to breath, sensation in the physical body. I'm choosing my pace here. So these are called modified jumping jacks, where we work through sides of the body. If you like, you can add in a set of jumping jacks. I'll do one more time on each side. And then release. From here, I'm going to walk over to my light weights, and I have 5-pound weights. So I'm going to step up to my weights and then pick them up, and I'm going to use the chair here. So I'm going to bring that chair back, and I'll have 2 of the legs of the chair on the mat. And I'm going to place these weights down on the chair seat. So again, I'm facing the chair seat here, and I'm going to move into that hip hinge that we did just a few moments ago. So hands will be on the hips, pressing down through the feet. Feel free to lift up your gaze, enjoy a back bend or a spinal extension, and then hinge forward. From here, I'm going to place my hands on the chair, shift my weight into the left foot, and lift up through my right foot. So I'm bringing this right knee up towards the right wrist, so into flexion, and then I'm going to kick my right foot as if I'm stamping the ceiling. And then I'm squeezing my right bum as I stamp that ceiling and then come back in with the right knee. So these are called donkey kicks. So we will just work within a few repetitions here. Again, it all depends on how you're feeling, the pace of your movement that is calling in the moment. So I'll work again within that range of 5 to 10, maybe 10 to 12, maybe 12 to 15. Or we just move to our contentment. When things feel complete on this side, we will switch. So releasing that right foot down, Maybe enjoying a moment of pause. Breath in and breath out. Shift the weight into the right foot, unpeel the left foot. We'll bring a bend of that left knee in. And then from here, I'm going to stamp the ceiling with that left foot and then bring the left knee back in. So I'm squeezing my left bum as I stamp the ceiling with that left foot. Few repetitions here. You could count. You could go with sensation. You can move until you feel content or complete on this side. Enjoy a pause, releasing that left foot down, maybe opening up the space of the feet. And then from here, I'm just going to adjust the weights on the chair so I can use the chair, resting my forearms down and bringing my forehead to the forearms. Breath in, breath out, opening through the side body, finding release, the exhale, breathing in through the back of the heart, and then exhale and release. I'll bend through my knees, right and then left, and peel my forehead away from the forearms. And then from here, I'm coming up, and then I'm going to bring my feet underneath my hips, and I'll step forward with my right foot and keep the left foot behind. So this is pyramid pose, where I'm in this hinged shape coming forward, pressing down through that right foot and left foot. Both toes are facing the same direction. And then I'll take hold of one of those lighter weights. And from here, I'm going to start by opening up the inner part of the forearm, facing my palm towards the chair. And then I can begin to bring in some bicep presses. So I'm moving slowly here, probably work within that 8 repetition. I think I'm at 3 or 4. And on the 8th one, I'm going to release slowly. And then I'm turning the arm, so the inner part of the forearm is facing the inner part of my right leg or towards the center line of my body. And then I'm going to bring one of the edges of the weights towards the shoulder. So moving from those bicep curls into some hammer curls. So again, working through a repetition that feels right for you. I'm going to lead up to about 8. I'll hold on the last one, slowly release down. And then from here, I'm going to circle my left hand in one direction, holding the weight, gripping the weight. Pause, and then circle this left arm in the opposite direction. And then pause. And then I will do a pull up of the weight towards my left rib cage and then slowly release. So I'm going to aim for about 8 of these repetitions. And on the last one, I'm going to pause and then rotate my chest open to the left and then push that weight up overhead. So I'll pause here for a moment and then slowly rotate that weight down towards the left rib cage and then release. And I'll aim for about that 5 to 8 range of repetitions, adding that rotation in to that pulling movement. So pulling the weight up to the rib cage, opening the torso to the left, and then pushing that weight up towards the ceiling. I think I'm on about 3 or 4. Will be my last one, extending up, weight back to the ribs, Slowly rotating that I have the torso facing the floor, and then I'll release this weight onto the chair. Pause. Perhaps pressing that left hand and the right hand into the chair seat, finding a bend into the right knee, step forward with the left, and then step back with the right. So I'm just going to move the chair so you can see this side as well. So left leg is forward, right leg is back now. Coming into pyramid pose with the toes facing the same direction towards the chair. Breath in and breath out. So I will find one of those lighter weights into my right hand this time. And I'm going to open up that inner forearm and face the palm towards the chair and begin with my bicep curls here. So I'll aim for about 8 of these. Slow release, and then rotate the inner forearm and the hand towards the inner part of the left leg or towards the center line of my body. And one of the edges of the dumbbells on the weights going up to the shoulder this time. So these are the hammer curls, and then lowering down, aiming for about 8 of these. Slow release, and then we'll begin those circles with the right arm, one direction, gripping the weight with the hand, pause, change the direction of those circles, and then pause, and we begin that pulling movement. So bringing the weight up to the right rib cage. And I'll hold on the last one here. So I'm just moving within that 8 number for repetitions. And then I'm rotating my torso to the right and pushing that weight up towards the ceiling, and then bringing the weight back down towards the ribs and then back down. So I'll aim for about 8 of these pulling motions and then overhead press. And then down we go, releasing this weight onto the chair seat. Again, find a moment where you would like to rest. So bringing that right foot forward and then widening out your distance of your feet so you can adjust your stance. And then you could bring the forearms back down towards the chair and rest your forehead against the forearms as we did earlier, connecting to your breath. So much of bringing strength into the practice is allowing space for rest, recovery, even if those moments are seconds, right? So 5, 10 seconds, enjoying the breath, finding your pause in the movement. Bending through one knee and then the other. And peeling the forehead away from the forearms, stepping the feet together, stepping the feet towards the chair, and then you could walk the hands up the chair. And then from here, we will move this situation. So I always have time to mix up my space. I'll have the chair on the other side. And then from here, I'm going to bring myself down onto hands and knees pose. So finding some time here, hands under shoulders, knees under hips, and then enjoying a few rock backs, hinging forward, hinging back. You may want to add some hip circles here. One direction and then the other. Could draw whole circles around with the body. And then finding that middle place where we can readjust the knees. And for this practice, I have 2 mats underneath my knees. So if you ever want to bring in extra comfort or extra padding underneath the knees, please feel free to do that. But from here, we'll shift the weight into the top of the right foot, and we will bring in this left knee towards the left elbow, and then extend this left leg long, pointing left toes down, reaching forward with the right hand. So I've shifted my weight into my left hand. I'm going to enjoy a round of breath here. And then I'll release my right hand, I'll release my left knee. Top of that left foot will press down into the mat, and then I'm going to bring that bend in the right knee towards the right elbow, and then extend the right leg long. So I'm shifting constantly with my weight, adjusting my balance, and then reaching forward with this left arm. As the weight has shifted into the right hand, enjoy a round of breath here. And then feel free to release, enjoy a pause, and then you could alternate sides here within your bird dog. So just moving through until you feel content, or you could count your repetitions, whatever feels right in your practice. I have one more in me for both sides here. And then I'll release. You could enjoy a child pose with your knees a bit wider. And then soften your forearms down. You could rest your head and neck, tucking the chin towards the chest. Breathing in and breathing out. Hanging the head heavy, maybe shaking to the right and to the left with the head and neck. And then lifting the gaze back up, pressing the hands into the mat. From here, we will move into our push-ups. So I will do a few with knees down. And I like to bring the ankles up and then cross at the ankles. And then just bring my nose to the mat. A couple tips would be to have the hands to the width of your yoga mat. Allow the elbows to be parallel to your ribs, and then drop the nose down, push the hands into the mat to press yourself back up. If these are challenging, you work within those smaller repetitions of 3 to 5. And then slowly progress your way 5 to 8 or 8 to 10. I'll show just a few variations within this. So at the top, we could reach one hand beyond the shoulder and then bend the elbow, bring the nose down, push back up. I'll switch that out, other side. Altered variation push-ups, walking the hands back underneath the shoulders. You could release your weight forward, nose to mat, and then push the hands away from the mat, creating a little bit of momentum here. And adjust your pace. Coming back up, walking the hands forward, and then stretching through the upper part of the body. Forehead may come down towards the mat, or just allow the forehead to hang and tuck the chin. Breathing in and breathing out. We will unpeel the forehead away, walk the hands underneath the shoulders, and slowly we will bring our bellies down towards the mat. So take a moment in your crocodile rest pose. You could Allow the forearms to be a pillow for your forehead. You could rock through the hips here. Enjoy a moment in this position of gravity with belly down. And then I'm lifting up my head and neck, and I'm going to bring my arms out into a cactus arm position, and then tuck the chin and bring the forehead back down towards the mat. So from here, I'm going to lift up through both feet and then begin to open and close as if I'm making snow angels in the snow, but I'm forward facing, which changes the sensation in the body. And then I'll lift the head and neck and add the arms as well. I'm hovering the arms and legs. You may want to have some extra cushioning underneath the front of the pelvis here. Move until you feel complete. And then rest again, forehead to the forearms, shake out through the hips. Reconnect to the breath. And then I'll tuck the chin towards the chest again, forehead to the mat. This time I'm going to bring my arms alongside the body, palms down. And then I will lift up the right leg and then lower, lift up the left leg and then lower, lift up the right arm, lift up the left arm, and then see if I could hover both feet as well. From here, I can slowly unpeel the forehead away from the mat, and we'll come up into locust pose. So there are a lot of variations within this particular pose. We could have just the arms and legs hovering and the gaze lifted, just be on the edge of your yoga mat. Connect to your breath in and out. Exhale and hover. You could place the palms down on the mat underneath the tops of the thighs here, squeezing the shoulders together, finding a higher lift. And then exhale and hover. I'll aim for about 3 rounds of breath in this locust pose. And then slowly release the legs, tuck the chin, bring the arms back up. Create a pillow for your head. Find support any way that feels right for you. You could turn your gaze to one side, shake your hips from right to left, turn your gaze to the opposite side. We could bend through the knees, circle around through the ankles. You can sway the feet from side to side. You could even draw circles with those feet on the ceiling. One direction and then the other. And then readjusting the thighs, we'll bring the hands underneath the shoulders and give yourself a push up, back into table pose. So you could do a few rock backs here. You could circle the hips around, but we'll come back around to knee down, forearms pressing down onto the mat, and then hinging the hips forward and then adjusting the weight forward onto the forearms. And this could be your forearm plank. I'm just going to adjust my space just a little bit, moving my chair forward. So again, coming down onto the forearms, knees start down, hinging forward, allowing the weight to shift into the forearms. And I can begin with this knee down, forearm plank position, connect with breath. I could adjust the torso slightly by reaching one arm forward, breathing in and breathing out. Bringing that arm back through center and then adjusting the other arm forward. So these are derotational planks. Slightly working different muscles within the upper part of the torso, arms, back of the body. And bring the arms back together. And then option to curl the toes under and lift the knees. So I enjoy a wider base to my forearm plank, connecting to breath here. And I'll show that variation of bringing one arm forward, readjusting back through center, and bringing the other arm forward. Knees could come down, and you could release yourself back into a child pose here. I like to move around through the hips, through the inner part of the thighs, hang the head heavy, reconnect to breath. So after all of that exertion, just enjoying a moment of pause, moment of recovery and reconnection to your breath. As I lift up my forehead away from my forearms and moving back into that hands and knees position, you can curl the toes under here, lift the knees up, covering the knees. I can begin to walk the length of my yoga mat forward and then back. So these are our bear crawls. Great way to switch up body weight connection. And then next time you come back through center, you may want to come all the way up into a downward dog. Feel free to pedal out the feet. So one knee can bend and then the other. Hinging back through the heels, hanging the head heavy. You could draw circles with the head and the torso. There's also the transition from downward dog into high plank. So I'll do about 3 of these, pushing out through my heels, pushing back up into downward dog, back into high plank, pushing out through the heels. My fingers are separated and I'm connecting with the pads of that large thumb and the hand and the small finger as well. As I come back into downward dog, I'm going to walk my feet towards my hands, bend my knees a lot, make some connection with belly to upper thighs, and see if I could release my head a bit here. Maybe come up halfway, extend through the crown of the head, and then release again. One more halfway lift. Bend the knees as much as you like. Shift and sway from side to side. Pressing into the feet, we'll slowly stand up. Take a moment in this position. Back to our standing sun breaths. Maybe enjoying a side bend. Right side and then left side. Coming back up through center, releasing the arms, toe heeling the feet back in line with the feet. The hips, I mean. All the little cues. It's tough to practice and teach at the same time. Whew. All right, so from here, I'm just rocking forward and back on my feet. And then I'll turn myself to the side so you can see that I'll come into a standing chair squat, and then we'll add a little buoyancy to this. So hands to hips, sitting in my imaginary chair. Notice in this squat, I have my feet the knees over the feet. So the squat, and then I'll bring my arms up, reaching the arms, reaching through the fingertips, and then I'll extend the arms behind me and stand up. So I'll do that a few more times. Sitting in my imaginary chair, extending the arms behind, standing up. And then option to bring in a little bit of buoyancy here. These are jump squats. And reaching forward, pausing, maybe pulsing. Release the arms and then stand up, shake out the legs, shake out the arms. Circling out through the ankles, the wrists. And then we'll move towards working with a heavier weight. I have two 10-pound weights and 2 blocks. So I'm going to set myself up for a deadlift with the props that I have. And we'll do a few of these. The tips that I like to share is using blocks. So I'll set the blocks up in front of me. And then I'm going to walk up to my heavy weights, bend down, pick them up. So I have 2 10-pound weights here. And I'm bringing the 2 10-pound weights and placing them on the blocks. So that provides a little bit higher lift for the weights, so I don't have to get all the way down to the floor. It's a nice beginner set. And if I had a 1 20-pound weight, I would use that, but I don't have that. So before I get into this, I'm just going to take a moment with a sip of water. And then I'm going to step right up towards these blocks, towards these weights. And the idea is to build strength in the back body. So the backs of the legs, the glutes here, the low back, the middle back, the upper part of the back. So when I bend down, I want to try to maintain the bend of the knee over the ankle instead of the feet. So I'm going to hinge back, reach down, grip, hold them up, and stand up straight. So these are nice slow progressions that I'm doing. I'm holding the weights, gripping the weights, and then I'm going to hinge back, bending the knees towards the ankles, not over the feet, and then I can soften them down towards the blocks, or I can hover them away from the blocks and lift up again. So coming all the way up into that extended spine, and then releasing. I could hover these, or I could lower them and then come back up again. So notice how close I'm keeping these weights to my body. I'll aim for about 5 to 8 repetitions. And I'm still new to this movement, so I'm still learning to figure things out within my body, working with this amount of weight seems challenging to me. So everyone is different. It's really important to meet yourself right where you're at, but really try and be curious and explore the movement. So I have one more and move very slowly here, coming back up again, and then lowering slowly, releasing these weights down. And then I'll come back up. Roll my shoulders a few times, one direction and then the other. I can bring the arms out into that T position, do some arm circles, one direction and then the other. And then one more movement here before we come back down onto the mat, and we'll do a set with the heavier weights. So we can use a chair for this, or a wall, whatever you have in your space, just something to have a little support. I like to have just one hand close to the chair. So I'm going to move myself a little bit here so you can see my feet. Okay, so heel raises and heel drops. So I'm just hovering my hands. We're going to come all the way up onto the tiptoes here, lift the heels up, and then lower them down. So I'm going to aim for about 10 of these. As my heels are lifted, I'm squeezing the muscles in my legs, particularly the bum muscles. Option to bring the hands to the hips if you feel stable. So I'm around 10. I feel like I could do a few more. So I'll say heel raises are a great movement to add to your morning routine, whatever that looks like for you. Waking up in the morning, maybe making your coffee or your tea, hanging out at the counter, and enjoying a few heel raises. Now we can move into heel drops. I like to have a little stability here underneath my hands where we lift up the heels, and then instead of slowly lowering them down, we just allow them to plop. So creating that vibration, that ground force reaction underneath the heel, vibrating all the way up into the low legs and the knees, into the thighs and the hips and the low back. So I'll aim for about 10 of these. I think I'm at 10, so I'll do one more for good measure. And then shake out the legs. So heel raises, heel drops, great way to integrate strengthening movements into your daily routines. So I'll move the chair out again. I'm going to come down onto my knees, so in a kneeling position. And again, if you have a blanket or some extra cushioning underneath the knees, that might feel nice. And I will find one heavy weight. So I've got my 10-pound weight here, and I'm going to show this movement from the side. So I'm holding one 10-pound weight with both hands. So I'm holding the dumbbell sides of the weight. And then from here, I'm going to have the tops of my feet resting down. You could fold a blanket here underneath the tops of your feet, or some of us like to curl the toes under. It's really whatever you feel stable doing. I like to have the tops of my feet resting down. And then when I hinge back, my weight shifts towards the tops of the feet, and then I can come back to center. So just a few of these, holding this heavy weight near the low belly. I can feel my belly bracing as I lean back. So engaging the core muscles, which extend through the torso and the diaphragm, the back as well. And then I'm going to lower down, hips to heels, and I will begin to extend this weight out away from me, and then I'll lift up, and then I will lower down. So I'm keeping my elbows slightly bent for this movement to accommodate my body. I'm lifting with this overhead press. Now you could certainly hold 2 heavy weights. I have 2 heavy weights in front of me, but I feel content with this movement. So I'll do a few repetitions here. Oh, Lily. Somebody's here. You gotta go see. Who is it? And then we'll pause and lower down. One more lift, and I'll reach this weight out and then just begin to twist and turn it from side to side. And I can feel my belly muscles and my back muscles bracing, engaging. And then I'm pausing and lowering down. I'll just move this weight out to the side for a moment. And then I'm going to make some space and move into a low lunge position. So I'll start with my left foot forward, hands on the hips. So I'm just going to hinge forward and back, allowing this left knee to come over the ankle, hinging forward and back. And then I'll pause with the left knee in line with the left ankle. And then I'll reach down for my heavy weight here, which is just underneath me. And then I'm going to bring, again, the heavier weight with both hands on the inside of my left thigh. And I'm going to begin to rotate this weight around my head. So these are called halos. And I was just introduced to this movement this year, and I've really been enjoying them for rotational movements and strengthening in the upper part of the body. So again, the weight is on the inside of the thigh, and I'm going to begin to rotate the weight around my head and back through center. So I'm holding this weight towards my belly and finding that rotation. So I'll just do about 5, 6 of these. Maybe 7. And then I'll pause. And then holding the weight through the center on the vertical, I'm going to begin to add some wood choppers. So lifting that weight up and then chopping behind my left hip. So lifting that weight up towards the right and then chopping behind my left hip. I'll do again about 5, maybe 6. Pressing down through that left foot to create some stability. Last one here. Oh, and then coming back through center, releasing that weight down, finding a moment, maybe hands on the thigh, just hinging forward and back. I'll take a moment in a runner's lunge where I lift up my left toes towards the ceiling. Reconnect to my breath. And then we'll try that whole movement on the other side. So right foot comes forward. Moving through the knee here, allowing the knee to move over the right toes. And then pausing in the middle where that right knee is just in line with the right ankle. And then I'm bending down, finding that heavier weight, holding the heavy weight with both hands to the inner part of the right thigh. And then I'll try my halos here. So around the head and then back through center. I'll do one more here. And then coming through center, we'll add those wood chops, holding the weight vertically, and then reaching that weight up now to the left and then alongside the right hip. Pressing down through that right foot. Last one for me. And then down. I'll release this weight. Hands to hips. Pressing through this right foot and maybe coming down into that runner stretch. Releasing through that right heel and bringing the right toes up towards the ceiling. And I'm walking the hands forward, going to bring this right foot back behind me. And I have an opportunity to come up to stand one more time. So curling the toes under, pressing hands into the mat, hovering those knees and enjoying a downward dog. Maybe walking the hands towards the feet this time, coming all the way up. And then I'm just going to move some things out of my space. So heavy weights, we'll move off to the side. Blocks 2. And then I'll pick up my lighter weights. So walking towards the front of my mat so I have some space behind me, shifting my weight into the right foot and then stepping back with the left foot. So I'm going to move into warrior one position here. And what I like to do is use the width of the yoga mat. So I'm walking my right foot over to the right side edge of my mat. And then as I point my left toes out towards the left side of my mat, I'm going to find movement in my hips facing forward, then bringing those weights up towards the shoulders, pushing them up towards the ceiling. I'll enjoy a bend in that right knee. So holding an overhead press here within warrior one, breath in and breath out. I'm going to hinge forward and reach those weights forward. Breath in, breath out. And then I'm lowering those weights down towards the floor and then extending my arms behind. So I'm in a kickback here position where I could bend my elbows, bring the heads of the weights towards my shoulders, and then extend back again. So I'm pressing into that right foot and pressing into the outside edge of the left foot. I'm working through a few repetitions of these tricep presses. So I'm just going to work within 5 to 6 repetitions. And then I'll hold in that extension, rotate my inner forearms and palms to the ceiling, and then pulse a bit. Rotate again, forearms and palms towards the center line of the body. Bring the weights up to the shoulders, extend up, overhead press for a moment, breath in, breath out. Bring the weights towards the upper part of the chest, step forward into the right leg, and then step back with the right leg. So warrior one here with the left leg facing forward, and just set your alignment up. Again, I enjoy that wider base for warrior one as I have my hips facing forward, and then I'll bend into that left knee just to check, see how things feel. Heads of the weights towards the shoulders, push up towards the ceiling. Enjoy your warrior one, breath in, breath out. Reaching the weights forward, breath in, and breath out. Reaching the weights down towards the floor, and then back behind you. So bending through the elbows, weights towards the shoulders, and then extending back again, aiming for about 5 to 6 repetitions here. Last one, I'll hold the weights and then rotate the forearms and the palms towards the ceiling and then pulse here. Rotate the forearms and the hands back towards the sides of the body. Have an option to bring those weights towards the shoulders and then punch them up again. Breath in. Breath out. Bring the weights down towards the heart space. Press into this left foot and then bring the right to meet. We will release these light weights down. And then I'm creating some space by moving my chair off to the side. We'll have a block and one heavy weight near us. So if you want to set up your space. And then we'll come down onto our backs. So take your time here. As you readjust your body into this position of gravity, we'll begin with knees bent, arms alongside the body, feet will walk in towards the pelvis, and then we'll begin to rotate through the pelvis. Just a few pelvic tilts forward and back. And then tucking the pelvis here, I'm going to unpeel my right foot, unpeel my left foot, and then coming into this lying squat, hands can rest on the tops of the thighs and just give a little push here. So gentle activation into the thighs and then the thighs into the hands. Feeling the belly muscles engage. Breath in and breath out. And then we'll release that gentle activation and bring the arms up reaching towards the ceiling. So we'll come into a few dead bug rotations, right side and then left side. I'm going to begin with my right leg long and extending my left arm behind, finding a pause in the middle there with the hover of the hand and the leg, back through center, and then I'll extend the left leg and right arm behind. So this is where we rotate from side to side. We move at the pace that feels right. I'll aim for about 5, maybe 8. Or whenever I feel content or complete in this movement. And then I will bring my knees towards my belly, hands on the knees, and begin to rock a bit, side to side. I'm going to place my feet down back on the mat, arms alongside the body, and I will unpeel my head and neck away from the mat. Hover the hands, so now the palms are facing the sidelines of my body, and I'm going to tap my right hand towards my right foot, and then come back through center, and then tap my left hand towards my left, and then come back through center. So right, center, left, center. Alternate here. I'll do one more time on each side. Pause here with my head and neck lifted, and then slowly lower down. I'll bring my palms down towards the mat, unpeel both feet. Lifting both feet up with my knees bent, I'm going to extend my legs up towards the ceiling, and then I'll slowly lower the right leg down and hover, bring that up. I'll lower the left leg down, hover, bring that up, and alternate sides. And then I'll pause in the middle and then slowly lower both legs down. I'm going to hover and then bring both legs back up. A few tips here will be to tuck the hands, palm side down towards the mat, underneath the low back, really near the curve of that low back, and then attempt to lower both feet down. This is greatly supportive for the low back, especially if you find that the low back is unpeeling away from the mat as you lower the legs down. This creates extra support underneath the spine. So I think I have 2 more here in me. And then I'm lifting up, pausing, pressing the toes towards the ceiling, and then the toes towards my head. Some rotation through the ankles, any direction here. And then we'll bring the hands back to the knees. Rock from side to side. And we'll set up for some bridge presses with the option to add the heavier weight. So I like to place a block between the thighs, so I know I'm squeezing everything towards the center line of the body. And then I'm rolling onto my side to find this heavier weight. I'm going to place the heavier weight on the lower part of my belly and then hold the weight with both hands. And then begin with the lumbar curve, pressing down onto the mat, and then lift the pelvis up. I still have the weight on my lower part of my belly. I'm going to press into my feet and then see if I want to reach that weight up and then over. I can bend through the elbows and then reach the weight back up towards the ceiling, staying lifted with the pelvis. You can also lower the pelvis down and lift and lower together. Arms, I'll show that in a minute. I'm going to bring the weight back down towards the pelvis and lower down. I'll show the rotating movement with upper body and lower body together. So I'm lifting and then lowering everything together. So I'll lift and then lower. I'm just hovering the weight as I lift. I'm not planting the weight all the way down towards the floor, I'm just hovering it. I have one more here. And then I'll pause. I'll remove this block. I'll remove the weight. And then I'm going to rock from side to side, bring the knees in. I'll allow my knees to fall all the way to the left. Find a moment with the right arm up overhead and then out to the side, and just enjoy a lying spinal twist. Perhaps your gaze will go towards the right. Breathing in and breathing out. We'll take the knees back up through center. We'll drop the knees all the way to the right. You could reach that left arm up overhead and then out to the side. Maybe your gaze goes beyond the left shoulder. Find your breath here. And then bring the knees back through center. Hands can rest on the knees. And from here, you could enjoy a few moments of rest, perhaps with the arms and legs fully released down onto the floor. If you have a wall or a chair nearby, you could bring the legs up the wall. You could bring the lower calves to rest on the chair seat. Just find a position of comfort where you could release the muscles completely and enjoy rest and relaxation within the physical body.